I know you sometimes talk about you have different playbooks.
Yes.
What does that playbook look like? The ideal setup where you think for yourself as a trader, this is a time to size in.
Sure. So the market, in my opinion, has a few different timings, right? 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time market opens. 10 a.m. is, let's say, cycle number 1. 10:30 a.m. is cycle number 2. You can call these two levels initial balance, right? Depending on who looks at what. 10:30 a.m. is technically the first initial balance. Most people look at 10 a.m. as the first initial balance, right? 10 a.m. a lot of times we also get the most economic data. 10 a.m. is also a lot of times when a lot of institutions want to get involved. And then you have 11 a.m. So it's like when I trade, I also have, you know how people have support and resistance lines on levels? I have like straight lines on times.
Okay.
Right? So I have a play, I mean, name-wise doesn't matter, but for myself, I call it a morning top setup, right? So the idea here is you'll see a stock open up or an instrument open up, let's say, even if it's ES or S&P 500, it'll open up, it'll start trying to make a move up on the first 30 minutes.
Okay.
And as it starts trying to make a move up, you'll see that the first initial move had somewhat strength, but that strength didn't carry over to the range that it hangs out in.
Okay.
So when it doesn't hang out in that same range after making the first initial move up, it identifies that this is not really a strong move, right? And then if it's going into that range that I have identified as I said early on, as a key level where buyers and sellers interact or exchange a lot in value, I would then look for a short. I'm now actively looking for a short. Now, if we get to 10 a.m. and we pass the 10 a.m. window and let's say it's 10:10, 10:15, and I start seeing that weakness come up, I will then go for a short. And what am I looking for weakness? I'm looking at the activity of buyers and sellers. And there's a lot of different ways you can look at this. You can look at it through order flow, right? You can go on Bookmap. You can go on footprint charts, right? You can look at TPO charts from the past prior sessions to look at where buyers are active or not. Not that you have to add all these things to overcomplicate it, but in simple terms, some people can just look at level 2.
Yeah.
Right. Or go into level 3, right? Just to see the interaction of how buyers and sellers interact at this particular level. Now, if you see the interaction there is where buyers are not aggressive, and if buyers aren't aggressive, price won't go up higher. But now maybe are buyers passive, right? Are sellers selling, and is there like a big buyer absorbing all of these orders? If there is, what happens when that selling dries up? Price will go up, right? Sometimes there's no buyer absorbing anything. Sellers are looking to get aggressive. There's no passive buyer active in those zones. So when you're able to identify that in that particular setup, I then go and I'm like, okay, well, where would this trade get invalidated? Okay, well, it would get invalidated a point above this level, right? If we went into this level, most likely it's invalidated. If it's invalidated, how much will I lose? Okay, well, depending on my size. If this is my size, I will lose 10 grand. If this is my size, I will lose 30 grand. If this is my size, I'll lose 50 grand. Well, how comfortable am I with this particular setup in this market context, right? Every setup may look similar, but different market contexts exist in every setup. That same setup can exist the day before FTMO, right? And it can exist a week after FTMO. Even though the setups look the same, they have different context behind them, different players behind them, different things happening in the market behind them. So you need to factor those in. Now, if it's a week after FTMO, I would maybe be more comfortable putting size in. But now if it's the day before FTMO, I'm not putting heavy size into that, assuming we're going to get a crazy sell-off. I might take the trade, but not with the same aggressive size that I would take on certain days.
You can continue to learn from the Full Trader podcast over here. And if you're interested in joining a trading community with real traders and live mentorship, then check out the link in the description below the video.